On the first day after I transmigrated, I tackled my landlord, mistaking her for a thief. Later, I found out she was a singer who had been shelved by her company. I used popular songs from my previous life to help her write an album. She asked me how good I was, and I said just a little. Now she's a top-tier artist, while I'm still writing novels that are neither hot nor cold. Every day, readers who demand updates curse my ancestors. My name is Gujanan. I woke up one day and transmigrated into a parallel world, becoming a miserable web novelist. Every day, I open my computer to type, upload. My life feels like a looping tape recorder, but I'm pretty satisfied. Living a second life means no more being a corporate slave. I just write novels and enjoy life. Couldn't be better. I rent this secondary bedroom in an old apartment in Lynn City. The master bedroom has always been empty, and I heard the landlord never comes. Living alone in a two-bedroom apartment, I sleep in every day. It's so comfortable. The original owner wrote a novel called Qin Shi Ming Yu on a Chinese website, but it was just mediocre, barely enough to scrape by. And what I need to do is to bring over the masterpieces from my previous life. What I'm currently recreating is The Legend of Sword and Fairy, a work revered as the pinnacle of Xinxia in my original world. At 4 in the morning, I was sound asleep when the sound of the door lock turning suddenly jolted me awake. I leapt straight out of bed. A burglar. Without a second thought, I crept in the dark to the door and heard the bathroom door click shut. I tiptoed to the living room and waited like a cat for its prey. When the bathroom door opened, I lunged forward, pinned them to the ground, and gripped them hard with both hands. Then I froze. The person I had subdued was actually a girl. She was stunningly beautiful, with peach blossom eyes full of shock and fear, skin as fair as mutton fat jade. She struggled desperately, and her shin slammed into the corner of the sofa, nearly bringing tears to her eyes. "Who are you?" I asked warily. This is my home." Her voice trembled, but was unexpectedly enchanting. My mind went blank. The master bedroom tenant? No, she said it was her home. The conversation that followed confirmed my most awkward suspicion. She was the landlord, Xia Ansh, a third-tier singer who had been shelved by Starlight Entertainment. She originally debuted as the runner-up of a talent show. Because she refused to attend business dinners and drink with clients, the company pressured her to produce original work within 3 months, or else pay a hefty penalty or obediently comply. She fled to Linshon, hiding in her own small apartment to quietly write songs. But she found out her assistant had rented it out, and the tenant was me. And just now, I tackled her thinking she was a thief. The situation was awkward. I got out the first aid kit to treat her injuries. Her right hand was scraped, and her left calf was bruised. She hissed in pain, but stubbornly didn't make sound. I dipped a cotton swab in disinfectant. The moment it touched her palm, she jerked her hand back. "It'll scar," I said flatly. Her eyes widened. After 3 seconds of hesitation, she slowly extended her hand. After treating her wounds, she locked herself in the master bedroom with 3 locks. I sighed. This was a mess I couldn't explain. The next day, I cooked millet porridge. She was starving and ate 3 bowls by herself, finishing half a plate of pickled vegetables. She thought she was being discreet, but I saw everything. The almost untouched takeout in the trash can gave her away. After dinner, she took out a piece of paper with 3 rules for roommates written on it, listing a bunch of terms. No disclosing the roommate relationship. No bringing friends over. No entering her room without permission. Keep quiet after 10 p.m. I scanned it and signed. Anyway, I'm a homebody who never goes out except to buy groceries, so these rules didn't matter much to me. Over the next few days, we lived our separate lives as roommates, each keeping to ourselves. I spent every day parked in front of my computer, grinding away at my novel, while she hid in her room, writing songs. One afternoon, I was lying on the sofa, scrolling through my phone when I noticed her guitar leaning against the corner. My fingers itched, so I picked it up and strummed a few chords, humming a random melody. It was a pop song I'd heard in my past life. I couldn't remember the title, but the tune was etched in my mind. I played it twice, got bored, and went back to my room to write. In the afternoon, I heard her door open, followed by the sound of a guitar in the living room. She was playing the melody I played at noon. I didn't think much of it. The next afternoon, I played her guitar again in the living room. This time, she was humming the chorus of a love song, the kind with an especially catchy melody. She stood at the door, holding her water glass, watching me for a long time without me noticing. At dinner, she suddenly spoke up. "Can you write songs?" "No," I said, taking a bite of my rice. I'm just a novelist, just messing around. She didn't ask again, but her eyes clearly didn't believe me. Things completely got out of hand on the third day. When I came back from grocery shopping in the afternoon, as soon as I pushed open the door, I heard an ethereal voice singing from her room. It was the exact melody I had played yesterday. She had rewritten the lyrics, weaving her own story and emotions into the song. Her voice sounded like a heavenly melody. I stood at the door, stunned. With that voice, no wonder she was the runner-up in a talent show. The singing stopped. The door opened. When she saw me standing there, her face flushed all the way to her ears. "You wrote that song. Why did you lie and say you couldn't?" She was holding a piece of paper, densely covered with musical notes and lyrics. I scratched my head. I dabble a little. "A little? You call this a little?" She handed the paper to me. "I've been listening for 3 days. Every piece of melody is a complete work. You do not know how to write songs, you just don't want to admit it." I was speechless. Over the next 3 days, she cornered me in the living room, insisting I help her transcribe the songs I had played before. I gritted my teeth and wrote down the melodies from memory. She hummed them through the sheet music, her eyes sparkling like stars. Then she handed my songs to the company and got a 1-month extension. The company gave her time to make a full album. If it performed well, she would be released from being shelved. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. I thought for a moment. "Maybe because I owe you the medical bill for knocking you over." She laughed at my joke. That was the first time she smiled at me. From that day on, our shared life changed. She would sit in the living room every day, cradling her guitar and practicing songs, while I sat at the dining table typing away, her voice becoming my background music. Sometimes she would ask me if this lyric was good or that melody was right. I would stammer, unable to answer, and she would figure it out on her own, making it sound even better than the original. A month later, her album was finished. On the day of the company review, I cooked her a bowl of noodles as a send-off. She finished the noodles, put down her chopsticks, and said, "If I successfully break my contract, I'll come back and treat you to a meal." "Okay," I nodded. "I'll be waiting." She dragged her luggage out the door. She turned back at the door and said, "Your song is really amazing." "Of course," I smiled. "I know a little." The door closed. The living room fell quiet, leaving only the guitar she had left behind in the corner. A week later, she returned and pushed open the door. I was hunched over my computer, rushing a manuscript. I looked up and saw her standing at the door, her eyes red. "How did it go?" My heart tightened. "The album passed." Her voice trembled. "The company agreed to terminate the contract." "Then why do you look like this?" "Because," she bit her lip, "I officially terminated the contract today. I only have $3,000 left in my bank account. I can't even afford a car." She paused, then suddenly whispered something I never expected. "Can I keep living here? This is your house after all," I said with a wry smile. "I know, but..." She lowered her head. "I don't have much money for rent. The house is yours, but what about utilities? Don't you have 30 million? She lifted her head, her peach blossom eyes sparkling. I couldn't tell if she had been crying or what, but she looked stunningly beautiful. "What 30 million? 30 million wishes. May you always be happy, always be healthy, and always be rich." She was stunned for a moment, then smiled, a particularly beautiful smile. "What about you?" I tapped on the keyboard. "I'm just continuing to write my novel. We'll talk about your rent when it's due." She sat on the sofa, hugging a cushion, watching me type on my computer. The sunset through the window cast light into the living room, dyeing it gold. After a while, she suddenly spoke. "You're not really from this world, are you?" My fingers paused on the keyboard for a second. "How did you figure that out?" "Because of the novel you're writing," she said, pointing at the screen. "It's different from this world." I smiled. "Then the songs you write are also different from this world." She thought for a moment. "That's true." That night, she made another bowl of noodles this time, 2 portions. We sat facing each other, eating our noodles. She said to me, "I still want to sing. Can you keep writing songs for me?" I said I only had a little knowledge. "That's okay." She looked at me seriously. "A little knowledge is enough." I lowered my head, took a bite of noodles, and mumbled a reply. You said yes." "The noodles are getting cold." She smiled, lowered her head to eat, her stray hair covering her expression. But I think I saw something glistening at the corner of her eye. The next morning, I was woken by a knock at the door. When I opened it, she stood there holding her guitar, the morning light streaming in behind her, making her look like she was gilded with a golden edge. "Get up and write songs. It's only 7 now. Singers need to wake up early. I'm not a singer. I'm a web novelist. But you're my exclusive lyricist. Who said that? I did. I looked at her confident expression and suddenly felt that being transported to this life might have been worth it. Later, she made a successful comeback with the songs I wrote for her, signed with a new company, and gradually climbed from third tier to second tier, gaining more and more popularity. And I remained an unknown web author, getting cursed at by readers in the comments, everyday procrastinator, padding word count. But every time she came back from recording, she would bring me little gifts. Sometimes a good pen, sometimes a book I'd mentioned wanting to read. Until one day, during the live stream of her new song launch, a reporter asked, "Did you write this song yourself?" She smiled at the camera and said, "No, my exclusive lyricist did." "Can you reveal his name?" "Secret, but he has a nickname." "What is it?" "Mr. Noah Little." I was sitting on the couch eating watermelon and watching the live stream, and I almost sprayed out a mouthful of watermelon. This woman. I picked up my phone and sent a message. 3 seconds later, she replied a voice recording. I opened it and listened. It was the demo of her new song, not some other song. It was the one I had randomly played in the living room for the first time. At the end of the recording, her cool yet beautiful voice said, "Thank you for letting me keep singing." I froze. Watermelon juice dripped from my chin onto my t-shirt. My phone buzzed again her message. "But didn't you say you just knew a little bit?" "Liar." I smiled and replied with 2 words, "Right back at you." Later, she settled in Lincheng, bought a car and a house. 3 years later, she became a true top-tier singer and won the Best Female Singer of the Year award. At the awards ceremony, she stood under the spotlight in an evening gown, holding up the trophy, and said to the audience, "Thank you to my exclusive lyricist." He said he just knew a little bit. But in my heart, he is the person who understands music the most in the whole world. The audience erupted in applause. Only I knew that the mister just knows a little she was talking about was at home in his gym shorts watching TV. Because I am the exclusive lyricist for that most down and out female singer. She doesn't even have a car. She's really struggling, Xia, Ange thought to herself. But her aloof personality wouldn't let her show it. She just pretended to carry the bags without effort, then walked out of the supermarket. Our Dong family never lacks for restaurants. I just built a large new one, and I'll give it to you as a consultation fee, young brother. When I get back, I'll handle the transfer procedures. Although Yi Bufan had been nothing but a poor boy before, he had inherited the legacy of the ancient medicine sect. So Dong Tianda's gesture didn't surprise him after all. No amount of money can compare to a human life. In the ancient medicine sect, someone once gifted an entire city as payment for curing an illness. Seeing that he had earned a restaurant in one go, Zhou Yongliang and Ma Haidong's eyes were filled with envy. Dong Tianda was an extremely shrewd businessman. He hadn't acted on impulse. Making friends with a divine doctor was essentially gaining an extra life at a critical moment, since no matter how much wealth you have, you need to be alive to enjoy it. In his view, simply offering money wouldn't be enough to befriend someone as extraordinary as Yi Bufan. So he had made such a grand gesture. Seeing that Yi Bufan remained completely unruffled, he was even more convinced of his own reasoning. He took down Yi Bufan's phone number, then pulled out a business card and said, "Little brother, feel free to come to me whenever you need anything." Dong Tianda expressed his gratitude repeatedly and then left with the child. Soon after, other patients arrived at Jiangnan Hospital with their children one after another, and Yi Bufan treated them all one by one. Seeing that the last sick child had been treated, Zhou Yongliang breathed a sigh of relief. This incident had a huge impact across Jiangnan City, and the city's high-level officials had been paying close attention. Now that Jiangnan Hospital had successfully treated all the infected children, it also earned him a great deal of face. "Xiao Yi, you've really helped me out this time. If there's anything I can do for you, just say the word." Yi Bufan put away his silver needles, glanced at Xie Haitao beside him, and said, "Director Zhou, there is actually something I need your help with." Zhou Yongliang said, "Just tell me what it is." As if sensing what Yi Bufan was about to say, Xie Haitao looked at him with a pleading expression. But Yi Bufan didn't even glance at him. He took out the fee statement and said, "Director Zhou, President Ma, this is the fee breakdown that Dr. Xie gave me for my mother's treatment. My mother was admitted here last night, and it hasn't even been 24 hours yet, but she has already been charged 39,800 yuan. He was diagnosed with severe cerebral hemorrhage." Yet the medication includes antithrombotic and heart disease drugs. The only thing missing is aphrodisiacs. And the 4 drips, the total weight of these bottles is at least 25 kilograms. Even a cow couldn't handle that, right? I still owe the hospital over 30,000 in medical fees. What do you two think should be done? Zhou Yongyang and Ma Haidong both came from the medical system and immediately saw through the tricks in the billing details. You bastard! Look what you've done. Ma Haidong grabbed the billing receipt and threw it hard in Xia Haitao's face. First you falsified records and stole Brother Ye's credit, and now you've come up with all this nonsense. A person like you is not fit to be a doctor. From now on, you're fired. Xia Haitao was completely stunned at that. With a pleading face, he said, Dean, please, give me another chance. I won't dare do it again. Yi Bufan said, Dean Ma, this kind of unauthorized addition of drugs and illegal overcharging seems to have broken the law, doesn't it? I think it would be more appropriate to hand this over to the police. And he has probably done it more than once. There must have been plenty before. We need to get to the bottom of it all. Zhou Yongyang said, Brother Yi is right. People like this are parasites in the medical field. They tarnish the reputation of doctors. We must investigate thoroughly and then hand them over to the police. No, please don't. I have elderly parents and young children at home. If I'm sent to the police station, it'll be the end of me. Xia Haitao was completely panicked. He dropped to his knees with a thud and begged, Director Zhou, Dean Ma, Brother Yi, please have mercy on me. Zhou Yongyang and Ma Haidong both looked toward Yi Bufan, clearly leaving the decision to him. Facing Xia Haitao, who was sobbing with tears and snot streaming down his face, Yi Bufan's eyes showed no trace of pity. Thinking about how he had risked his life to stage a car accident to scrape together medical fees for his mother, anger surged in his heart. You asked me to have mercy on you? Did you ever have mercy on those helpless patients and their families? Do you know how they scraped together that money? It was blood and sweat money from selling houses and land money meant to save their loved ones. In the end, you just casually wrote a list and snatched it away. Isn't that 10 times worse than a robber? Why should I have any pity for you? Xia Haitao, was rendered speechless, collapsing to the ground like mud. Seeing Yi Bufan's attitude, Zhou Yongliang said coldly, Go turn yourself in at the police station. Perhaps you'll get a lighter sentence. Ma Haidong waved his hand, called over 2 security guards to drag him out, and then said apologetically, Brother Yi, I'm truly sorry. I never expected our hospital to have such a worm. To express our apology, all your mother's medical expenses will be waived, and the hospital will also provide 30,000 yuan as a thank you for your help. Ye Bufan nodded. The hospital's attitude was very sincere, so he didn't say anything more. Zhou Yongliang said, Brother Yi, may I ask where you work? How do you possess such superb medical skills? Yi Bufan said, I haven't graduated yet. I'm a junior at Jiangnan Medical University, and I learned traditional Chinese medicine from my master. Zhou Yongliang asked, May I ask which national master of Chinese medicine your master is? Yi Bufan said, My master is Yi Xiaoyao, a reclusive master. Not many people know his name. Oh, Zhou Yongliang said nothing more. After so many years in the medical field, he had indeed never heard of a famous doctor named Yi Xiaoyao. Ma Haidong said, Brother Yi, would you be interested in working as a doctor at our hospital? If you agree, I will immediately make you a chief physician, taking over Xia Haitao's position. Jiangnan Hospital was one of the top hospitals in Jiangnan City. It was almost impossible for an ordinary medical graduate to even think of working there. He offered a chief physician position outright, showing how highly he valued Yi Bufan's medical skills. Zhou Yongliang laughed. Director Ma, you are truly eager for talent. Ma Haidong said, Brother Ye's medical skills are divine. I feel that being a chief physician is an understatement for him, but that's the highest authority I have. In their view, with such generous treatment, the young man would surely agree. But unexpectedly, Yi Bufan shook his head and said, Director Ma, I appreciate your kindness. But your hospital is a Western medicine hospital. I study traditional Chinese medicine, so it's really not suitable for me to come here. Ma Haidong said, That's no problem. If Brother Yi is willing to come, I can set up a separate Chinese medicine clinic for you. He truly valued Yi Bufan's medical skills. With such a pillar of strength, the hospital could quickly resolve any difficult cases like the one today. Yi Bufan shook his head again. Dima, I really am not suited for working here. What he wanted was to promote traditional Chinese medicine. The hospital had too many rules and restrictions, which weren't conducive to personal growth. He preferred to open his own Chinese medicine clinic instead. A deep disappointment flickered in Ma Haidong's eyes. Very well, young brother. If you ever change your mind, my door is always open. He then called the hospital's office director, waiving all of Ouyang Land's medical expenses, and also gave 30,000 yuan as a thank you fee. Yi Bufan took the money and left Jiangnan Hospital. It was already past 9 o'clock in the evening. He first called Ouyang Lan to report that he was safe, then dialed his girlfriend Zhu Linlin's number. An electronic voice came from the phone. Sorry, the number you dialed is switched off. Ye Bufan Sikit. Since the break began, Zhu Linlin had disappeared. He couldn't see her or get through on the phone, and he had no idea what was going on. Even though it was summer break now, the small bun shop his mother rented was only a dozen square meters, making it inconvenient to go back. These past few days, he had been staying at school. Back in the dormitory, he was the only one there. Everyone else had gone home. After a quick wash, he sat cross-legged on the bed and began to cultivate the Chaos Heart Sutra passed down from the ancient medical sect. According to the records of the ancient medical sect, the Chaos Heart Sutra was handed down by Shen Nong, the founding father of medical arts. It was an extremely advanced cultivation technique, even more suited for healing and saving lives. Once he began cultivation, he felt a strand of warm, true qi rise from his dantian and circulate through his body along the meridian paths of the sutra. As time passed, this strand of true qi grew stronger, and his body became more and more comfortable. The next morning, the fiery red sun slowly rose from the east. Yi Bufan gradually opened his eyes, a gleam of brilliance flashing within them. At this moment, his heart was filled with excitement. After a night of cultivation, the Chaos Heart Sutra had reached the 9th level of the Qi refining stage, only one step away from foundation establishment. What surprised him most was that upon reaching the 9th level, he gained spiritual senses. Even with his eyes closed, he could see everything within a 2-meter radius. Moreover, his spiritual senses had a penetrating ability. Not only could walls not block his sight, but he could also see through a person's body. At that moment, he could clearly see his own meridians, bones, and blood flow. He knew that his rapid progress in cultivation was entirely due to the spiritual energy transformed from the ancient jade pendant. But now, with the scarcity of spiritual energy on Earth, it would be difficult to improve further. Fortunately, he had inherited the ancient medical sect, which allowed him to refine pills to aid his cultivation. Yi Bufan got out of bed, washed up briefly, and had some breakfast. Refreshed and clear-headed, he walked out of the school gate, planning to find a pharmacy to buy the herbs for refining the foundation establishment pill. Not far from Jiangnan Medical University stood a 20-story office building, luxuriously yet tastefully decorated. This was the headquarters of the Qin Group. The Qin Group is a well-known enterprise in Jiangnan City, with substantial strength, and in front of its office building, there is a small square covering several hundred square meters. When Yi Bufan passed by, the square was crowded with many people gathered around watching something. He glanced over and saw a red Porsche 911 parked in the center of the square, with 999 roses arranged in a heart-to-heart pattern in front of it. A young man in his 20s, dressed in a suit and tie with his hair meticulously combed, stood in front of the car holding a bouquet of blue roses, apparently waiting to confess his love to someone. The young man was somewhat handsome, but Yi Bufan could immediately tell that his face was pale and his breath was weak, a classic sign of overindulgence. His body had been completely drained by alcohol and lust. Just then, a soft and fragrant object bumped into him. Yi Bufan quickly turned his head. It was a woman in an office lady outfit, whose attention also seemed drawn to the young man in the square, and they bumped into each other. Fortunately, they weren't moving fast, and the woman staggered back 2 steps before steadying herself. So the... Both realized they hadn't been watching where they were going and apologized to each other at the same time. Then they both exclaimed in surprise, "What are you doing here?" Yi Bufan saw that the person he had bumped into was none other than Qin Chu, and couldn't help but laugh. "What? Wasn't running me over with your car yesterday enough fun? Now you're trying to run me over with your body?" As he spoke, he thought to himself, Running into someone with your body is much more comfortable than with a car soft and springy. Yi Bufan couldn't help but size up Qin Chuchu's curvaceous figure. The woman looked very slender, but she had plenty in all the right places. Especially that area, it was astonishingly large, the buttons on her chest nearly popping off. He wondered if that soft feeling just now had come from there. Qin Chuchu hadn't expected to run into Yi Bufan here. After a brief moment of surprise, she said, "Enough talk. I'm gonna bind, help me out." Yi Bufan asked, puzzled, "Help with what?" "Need to borrow money." "No, I need to borrow you. Play the role of my boyfriend for a bit." "Pretend to be your boyfriend?" Yi Bufan immediately caught on. "Is that guy after you?" Qin Chuchu nodded. "His name is Xiang Yuntian. He's been chasing after me all this time. It's so annoying." Yi Bufan chuckled. "Then just say yes. Though he's not as handsome as me, he's still passable." Qin Chuchu glared at him. "I'm being serious. Are you going to help or not?" "No, I already have a girlfriend." "You?" Qin Chuchu's chest heaved with anger. Usually, men chasing after her couldn't be shaken off, yet this guy acted like being her boyfriend was some kind of hardship. Then she had a thought and said, "Not helping? I just came back from traffic police and watched the surveillance footage. Yesterday's accident wasn't me hitting you, it was you faking a collision. I'll help. I won't help others, but I'll definitely help you. It's just pretending to be your boyfriend. No big deal." Yi Bufan immediately agreed. He was indeed in the wrong yesterday, causing so much damage to her car. He felt a little guilty about it. Qin Chuchu's face showed a hint of smugness. "Help me get rid of this fly later, and I'll let the hit and run act slide," she said. Yi Bufan replied, "No problem. Leave it to me." While they were talking, Xiang Yuntian also noticed them and walked over quickly, holding the bouquet of blue enchantress. The onlookers spotted the female lead and moved aside, clearing a path. "Chuchu, you're here." Xiang Yuntian approached Qin Chuchu, holding the roses out gallantly. "These flowers are for you. I hope you have a wonderful day every day. My mood was just fine, but it soured at the sight of you." Without even glancing at the blue enchantress, Qin Chuchu said bluntly, "Xiang Yuntian, how many times have I told you? There's no chance for us. Besides, I already have a boyfriend." Xiang Yuntian said, "Chuchu, don't try to fool me. I know your situation all too well. You don't have a boyfriend. I knew you wouldn't believe me, so I brought him here today." Qin Chuchu threw her arm around Yi Bufan's, speaking intimately. "This is my boyfriend, Yi Bufan." Xiang Yuntian was momentarily stunned, then gave Yi Bufan a serious once-over, before letting out a contemptuous sneer. "Chuchu, even if you're going to hire a fake boyfriend, you should at least pick someone decent. With this loser, do you think I believe it?" Feeling disdained, Yi Bufan said, "What? You look down on me. Do you even need to ask? If you want others to respect you, you need to have the strength to earn it." Xiang Yuntian looked at him with a mocking expression. "Tell me, do you have an 8-figure bank balance?" "No." Yi Bufan shook his head. "Then do you earn $1 million a year?" Yi Bufan said, "I haven't graduated yet." Xiang Yuntian grew even more smug. How could a poor kid who hadn't even left school compare to him, the eldest son of the Xiang family? He said arrogantly, "Let me tell you, our Xiang family is a large enterprise with assets over 100 million, and I am the only heir currently serving as the vice president of the group. What do you have to compare with me?" "Yeah, there's really no comparison. How can a poor kid like him measure up to young Master Xiang? The gap is too big. If I were her, I'd choose young Master Xiang too. But I think this young man is quite handsome. It's not about being a kept man. Being handsome alone is useless. A man still needs strength." Hearing the whispers around her, Qin Chuchu felt a pang of dismay. She had been in a hurry to grab a shield and had forgotten the gap between the two. Yi Bufan was still far behind Xiang Yuntian. "See that? That's the new car I gave Chuchu, worth over 3 million. I'm not looking down on you, but you probably won't earn that much in your entire life." Xiang Yuntian was quite satisfied with the effect he had created. Pointing at the roses in his hand, he said, "These are blue enchantresses air-shipped from Europe, 500 yuan each. Much more expensive than that cheap outfit you're wearing. A poor nobody like you has no right to pursue Chuchu, let alone compete with me." At that moment, the surrounding onlookers looked at Yi Bufan with mixed expressions, some mocking, some sympathetic, some pitying. No one believed that a poor guy could outshine a rich young master. Yet Yi Bufan's expression remained unchanged. He said calmly, "Are you saying that only rich people are qualified to pursue Chuchu?" Or do you think Choo Choo is just a gold digger who only cares about money? I, of course that's not what I meant. Xiang Yun Tian immediately grew nervous. He pursued Qin Choo Choo not only for her beauty, but also to leverage her powerful family, the Qins. In other words, Qin Choo Choo was the young lady of the Qin family. How could she possibly care about his petty wealth? Afraid of displeasing Qin Choo Choo, he quickly explained, Choo Choo, please don't misunderstand. That's really not what I meant. But Qin Choo Choo was watching Yi Bufan with keen interest. His performance had greatly exceeded her expectations with just a few words. He had trampled on the advantage Xiang Yuntian prided himself on. Seeing that Qin Choo Choo remained silent, Xiang Yuntian grew even more nervous and spoke again. Choo Choo, don't listen to his nonsense. My feelings for you are completely sincere. Yesterday, when I heard you were in a traffic accident, I was scared to death. Fortunately, you're fine. I heard your car was badly damaged, so I immediately bought you a new one. Money is secondary. What matters is my true feelings for you. How touching. If only someone would do that for me, I would marry him without hesitation. Young Master Xiang is so generous, spending 3 million just like that. If it were me, I would definitely agree. Rich and devoted, it's really hard to find such a good man nowadays. Hearing the murmurs around him, Xiang Yuntian secretly sighed in relief and subtly signaled to his plant in the crowd. Immediately, someone in the crowd shouted, "Say yes. Be together, be together." Carried away by the atmosphere, some onlookers also started shouting along. Xiang Yuntian knelt on one knee, holding the bouquet of blue enchantress roses, and said with affectionate sincerity, Choo Choo, from the moment I saw you, I knew I was completely lost for life. My heart is completely filled with you. I won't look at any other woman but you. Will you be my girlfriend? As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding crowd shouted again, Be together, be together, be together. Seeing how persistent this guy was, Qin Choo Choo looked at Yi Bufan for help. Yi Bufan burst out laughing and said mockingly, With such acting skills, it's really a waste that you're not an actor. Xiang Yuntian exclaimed indignantly, What are you talking about? My sincere feelings for Choo Choo can be testified by the heavens. If I'm lying, may lightning strike me dead. Really? Then let everyone see how true your feelings are. As he spoke, Yi Bufan reached out and quickly pulled out a white object from Xiang Yuntian's suit. It turned out to be a woman's garment, extremely sexy, almost transparent. Holding the item in his hand, he said with a smirk, Master Xiang, explain this. Is this your true feelings? Since you're devoted to Choo Choo and claim you haven't looked at another woman in half a year, where did this come from? You're not going to say you use it yourself, are you? Xiang Yuntian was dumbfounded. He hadn't gone half a year without looking at women. He couldn't go a single day without them. Plus, he had a peculiar habit. Every time he slept with a woman, he kept a pair of her underwear as a souvenir. This pair was from last night and hadn't been disposed of yet. But it was a thong, smaller than a handkerchief, completely invisible in a pocket. How'd this kid find it? Seeing this, the crowd immediately buzzed with excitement. Damn, I almost fell for that scumbag's lies. Carrying another woman's stuff in his pocket while professing his love? What a freak. Shameless, utterly shameless. With that in his pocket, he still says such high-sounding things. How thick can his skin be? Didn't he say he'd be struck by lightning? God should strike him dead already. Xiang Yuntian licked his dry lips and, thinking on his feet, said, Choo Choo, please don't misunderstand. Yesterday, a friend of mine went out on a date and borrowed this suit from me to make a good impression. Whatever S in here must have been brought back by him. It has nothing to do with me. And what about this? Does it have anything to do with you? Yi Bufan casually tossed aside the underwear, then reached into Xiang Yuntian's pants pocket and pulled out a pink object. His speed was so fast that Xiang Yuntian couldn't even react. Young Master Xiang, this should be called a Durex, right? Where did it come from? Did you lend your pants to a friend too? Xiang Yuntian looked extremely embarrassed. Since he went on dates with women every day, carrying a Durex was standard. He always had one on him, but he was also very puzzled. Compared to the underwear just now, the Durex was even smaller. How did this kid know about it? Did he have X-ray vision? Choo Choo, please don't misunderstand. I have no idea where this came from either. Maybe my friend was playing a prank on me. I really don't know anything. At this point, Xiang Yuntian had no choice but to deny it outright, or everything he had done would be for nothing. Oh, then what's this? Yi Bufan reached into his other pocket and pulled out 2 small white pills. Young Master Xiang, if I'm not mistaken, this is the legendary regret medicine, isn't it? Quite well prepared. Could your friend have pulled another prank on you? Qin Chuchu looked at the scene in disgust and said, Xiang Yuntian, you can leave now. I don't want to see you anymore. Seeing his meticulously planned scheme fall apart, Xiang Yuntian flew into a rage. Bastard, I'll kill you. He no longer bothered to keep up his pretenses and swung his fist at Yi Bufan's face. But with his body weakened by indulgence, he was no match for Yi Bufan. He was kicked in the stomach and flew backward, landing on the 999 roses. Xiang Yuntian let out a heart-wrenching scream. The fall wasn't too hard, but those roses were all thorny, and by the time he struggled to get up, his body was full of rose thorns. Kid, daring to go after my woman? Just you wait. Xiang Yuntian threw out a harsh threat and tried to flee, but he hadn't run far when suddenly the manhole cover under his feet flipped over, and with a splash, he fell in. This time it was downright humiliating. When he crawled out of the sewer, he was covered in garbage and reeked of stench. His henchmen who had been planted in the crowd rushed over quickly and helped the disheveled man leave. Watching the once arrogant young Master Xiang, who had just been bragging as if he could touch the sky, now reduced to such a mess, the crowd burst into unrestrained laughter. Good job, young man. I don't admire anyone else, but I admire you. Young lady, good eye. The young man you picked is great. The onlookers were full of praise for Yi Bufan. Usually, everyone is disgusted by the behavior of these rich young masters, but feel powerless. This young man just now really helped them vent their frustrations. Qin Chuchu pulled Yi Bufan aside and said with bright eyes, How did you do that? His performance just now was completely unexpected. One might even call it stunning, as he thoroughly crushed the eldest son of the Xiang family. After today's events, Xiang Yuntian probably won't have the face to pursue her anymore. Yi Bufan smiled and said, Didn't you see it all? Qin Chuchu's cheeks flushed as she said, I mean, how did you know there was that kind of thing in Xiang Yuntian's pocket? Yi Bufan certainly wouldn't reveal the matter of his spiritual sense. He said, I'm a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. I could tell from the start that this guy had severe kidney deficiency, so I could easily guess. Qin Chuchu didn't press the matter further and said, Thanks for your help. I'll treat you to dinner after work. After saying that, she turned and walked into the office building of the Qin group. With all this commotion, she was almost late for work. Yi Bufan also left the place. A moment later, he arrived at Bai Chao Tang, the largest traditional Chinese medicine clinic in Jiangnan City. Bai Chao Tang was entirely decorated in an antique style, looking elegant and imposing. Hanging at the entrance was a couplet. The first line read, There is no one watching when compounding medicines, and the second line read, Heaven knows the intentions in your heart. Yi Bufan stepped inside and looked around. To his left was the pharmacy, and to his right was the consultation room. Since it had just opened, there weren't many customers in the pharmacy, none of whom had reached the step of having their prescriptions filled. Only an assistant was behind the counter, fiddling with his phone. When Yi Bufan came in, the assistant only glanced at him without a word and continued playing with his phone. Yi Bufan approached the counter and said, I'd like to get some herbs. Without even looking up, the assistant said, Hold on. Can't you see I'm busy? Yi Bufan was speechless. Playing Honor of Kings was considered busy. This was a classic case of big store bullies customers. He felt like turning around and leaving, but the medicinal herbs needed to refine the foundation establishment pill were diverse, and a few were uncommon. Other small pharmacies wouldn't have them all. After waiting a full 10+ minutes, the shop assistant finally finished his game, placed his phone on the counter, took a sip of tea, and then said unhurriedly, What medicine are you buying? Yi Bufan handed over the written prescription. The shop assistant's eyes lit up when he saw it. The prescription listed many precious herbs aged for years. With such a prescription, he would get at least a few thousand yuan in kickbacks. He asked, Are you sure you want to buy so many herbs? Yi Bufan said, Of course, but I'm not sure if you can supply them all here. Of course we can. There's no herb that our Baikayatang doesn't have. The young assistant's attitude instantly improved, and he said with a full smile, Young master, wait a moment. I'll prepare all the herbs for you right away. Soon, the assistant placed a pile of herbs on the counter. Yi Bufan inspected them one by one. The herbs were all there and of excellent quality. He said, "How much?" The assistant picked up an abacus, clacked away for a while, and then said, "The total is 253,200 yuan. Cash or card?" "What? That expensive?" Yi Bufan was startled. Although he had studied traditional Chinese medicine at Jiang Medical University, he wasn't very familiar with the prices of medicinal herbs. He had originally thought that the 30,000 yuan in his pocket was a small fortune, but now it wasn't even enough for a fraction of the cost. He never expected that just the ingredients for making a single foundation establishment pill would require so much money. He said somewhat awkwardly, "Sorry, I didn't bring that much money." The young shop assistant's face, which had been full of smiles, instantly turned cold. "Broke? Then why are you acting all high and mighty here? Are you just messing with me?" Yi Bufan explained, "Sorry, I just didn't realize these herbs were so expensive. If you don't know the price, why are you buying medicine?" The shop assistant said discontentedly. "Look, if you don't have that much money, just buy less. Don't make me waste my efforts for nothing." Yi Bufan said, "That won't work. This is the amount for a single dose of medicine. They're useless if there's less." The prescription he had listed was exactly the dosage for one batch of foundation establishment pill. Insufficient ingredients wouldn't allow him to refine the pill at all. The shop assistant frowned and said, "Then just change the age of the herbs. You know, the price difference between a 10-year-old herb and a 2-year-old one is more than tenfold." "But even so, that won't do," Yi Bufan said. "These herbs I listed are already the lowest grade available." At his words, the young shop assistant burst out, "This won't do. That won't do either. You're just messing with me, aren't you?" Yi Bufan apologized again. "Sorry, I didn't bring enough money this time. I'll come back to buy them when I have enough." "Pa, you broke loser. Who knows when you'll scrape together enough money?" The assistant huffily packed away the herbs. "I must have been blind to even bother showing these to someone dressed like a beggar." His anticipated commission gone, the young assistant was filled with rage. "Ye Bufan fronit. What kind of way is that to talk? I already apologized for not bringing enough money. Besides, as a shop assistant here, dispensing herbs is your duty. What's there to complain about?" "Oh, so you've got attitude now." The assistant's anger flared as he thumped his chest and said arrogantly, "Do you even know where you are? This is the 100 Herbs Hall, run by Master Chow himself. Every day, the people who come here for treatment are either wealthy or officials. What makes you think a broke pauper like you can act like a big shot here?" "You." Yi Bufan was about to lose his temper, but then he thought better of it. After all, he was a descendant of the ancient medical sect, and there was no point in arguing with a snobbish little man like that. With that thought, he turned around and walked out. Suddenly, he saw a large red notice posted on the wall, with 4 big characters, "Million Yuan Reward." He looked further down and saw a paragraph of explanation. "I, Chao Xinghua, have accidentally obtained Hua Tuo's golden prescription. Unfortunately, it is incomplete. 3 herbs are not fully recorded. If anyone can complete these 3 herbs, after my verification, I am willing to offer a reward of 1 million Chinese yuan." Below the explanation was the prescription of Hua Tuo's golden prescription, but only the first 15 herbs were listed, with 3 gaps marked afterward, clearly waiting for someone to fill them. Seeing the reward, Yi Bufan felt delighted. He knew Chao Xinghua, the head of Baichao Hall, a highly respected elder in the traditional Chinese medicine community of Jiangnan City. As for Hua Tuo's golden prescription, he was even more than familiar with it. According to the records of the ancient medical sect, Hua Tuo himself came from this sect, though he did not practice martial arts and was only an outer disciple. This Hua Tuo's golden prescription was not created by Hua Tuo himself, but was passed down from the ancient medical sect. He was just worrying about not having enough money to buy herbs for the foundation establishment pill when a fortune of 1 million came knocking at his door. With that thought, he picked up the pen provided nearby and began filling in the remaining 3 herbs in the 3 blank spaces. "Hey, you poor bastard, are you going to keep this up? Who told you to scribble all over this?" He had only written 2 herbs when the young shop assistant rushed out from behind the counter and shoved him aside. Provoked time and again by this guy, even a clay Buddha would lose its temper. Yi Bufan angrily said, "What do you think you're doing?" The shop assistant shouted, "I'm asking you, do you know where this is? This is the 100 Herb Hall. Are you allowed to just scribble on it?" Yi Bufan retorted angrily, "Isn't this a reward notice? Why can't I write on it?" The assistant said disdainfully. Are you that desperate for money? The $1 million reward is real enough, but what does that have to do with you? Ever since this notice was posted, it initially attracted countless renowned medical experts. Many came here to try their luck, but without exception, they all failed. You have to know that there are at least tens of thousands of types of Chinese medicinal herbs. Trying to complete the remaining 3 herbs by luck would have a probability unimaginably lower than winning the lottery. Even Elder Chow couldn't complete this prescription, and so many famous Chinese medicine experts have failed. How could he believe that this poor kid in front of him could do it? Yi Bufan sneered. Isn't this an open reward? If it's a reward, people should be allowed to try. The shop assistant shouted, the reward is for people to try, but not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry can come here and scribble randomly. Do you think anyone can claim that 1 million? If you could complete Hua Tuo's golden formula, I would be Hua Tuo reborn. Lu Hong, what's all the noise about? Just then, an imposing old man walked over from the Chinese medicine consultation hall. Although his hair and beard were all white, his complexion was rosy, and he exuded vitality. He was none other than Elder Chow Xinghua, the head of the Baikayatang pharmacy. Elder Chow, you're here. Upon seeing Chow Xinghua, the young assistant named Lu Hong instantly turned into a fawning dog. What's going on? Why are you making so much noise in the store? As Chow Xinghua spoke, he glanced at the reward notice, and when he saw the 2 medicinal herbs Yi Bufan had written down, he stood there stunned. Old Chow, this poor kid has no money and came to our store to cause trouble. Just now, he was scribbling on the reward notice. Lu Hong, not noticing the old man's expression, kept rambling on. Chow Xinghua didn't even look at him. Instead, he said excitedly to Yi Bufan, young man, did you write these 2 medicinal herbs on the wall? Before Yi Bufan could speak, Lu Hong cut in. He just scribbled them down. If I hadn't stopped him in time, he would have written a 3rd one too. Don't be mad, old Chow, I'll wipe it off right away. Before Lu Hong could finish, Chow Xinghua slapped him across the face. You idiot. Apologize to this young man immediately. Huh? Lu Hong was completely dumbfounded, standing there in shock with a blank expression. Lu Hong was completely dumbfounded, standing there stunned with his mouth agape. Chow Xinghua said angrily again, did you hear that? Apologize to this young man immediately. Although Lu Hong still didn't understand what was going on, he couldn't disobey old Chow's words. He could only say respectfully, I'm sorry. Yi Bufan said coldly, today I've seen what it means for a big shop to bully customers. Though no one sees the mixing, heaven knows the conscience. It means that those practicing Chinese medicine should not deceive themselves nor others. Your Baijiao Hall is completely unworthy of that saying. Young man, I'm sorry. It's because I've been too lax in discipline. I apologize to you once again. After apologizing, Chow Xinghua said eagerly, young man, can you really complete this Hua Tuo golden prescription? Yi Bufan said, that's right. I happen to know this prescription. That's great, young man. Please help me complete the prescription above. The 1 million prize money won't be reduced by a single cent. Chow Xinghua was so excited that his beard was bouncing. From seeing the 2 medicinal ingredients Yi Bufan had already filled in, he could tell this young man was extraordinary. He had studied this prescription countless times and tried numerous herbs, but none could match the properties of the first 15 ingredients. But these 2 ingredients are completely different from the others, and they fit perfectly with the 15 from before. They could very well be 2 of the 3 missing ones. Yi Bufan shook his head and said, sorry, I was just about to fill them in, but your people at Baikayatang said this isn't a place where just anyone can write prescriptions. It seems fate hasn't brought us together, so you'll have to find another expert. With that, he turned to leave, but Chow Xinghua grabbed him by the wrist. Young man, don't go. Please don't go. The reward notice had been posted for so long, and aside from Yi Bufan, no one else could even match a single ingredient. If he really left, would Chow find someone else? The Hua Tuo golden formula was a priceless treasure, and it also involved the life and death of a VIP. That was the real reason he was willing to offer a million reward. Now that he had finally found someone who could complete the Hua Tuo golden formula, there was no way he was letting go. After stopping Yi Bufan, he turned to Lu Hong and shouted angrily, you bastard! How dare you speak to the young man like that? Apologize to him right now. I'm telling you, if the young man doesn't forgive you, you're out of here today. Lu Hong was completely dumbfounded. The treatment at Bai Chao Tang was the best in the entire Jiangnan city's medical industry. And given Chao Qinghua's prestige in the field of traditional Chinese medicine, if he got fired from here, he would probably never be hired by anyone again. That meant losing his livelihood entirely. With that thought, he fell to his knees with a thud in front of Yi Bufan, raised his hand, and slapped himself twice in the face. "I'm sorry, I was blind to look down on you. I have an aging mother and young children at home, all depending on me to provide for them. Please forgive me this once." Ye Bufan Sigit. People like this, if only they had thought of the consequences before acting. But ever since he had inherited the legacy of the ancient medical sect, his insight and perspective had risen to a higher level, and he couldn't be bothered to argue with such a petty person. He waved his hand and said, "All right, get up." "Thank you, young brother. Thank you." Lu Hong scrambled to his feet, expressing endless gratitude. Chao Xinghua spoke again. "Wasn't this young brother here to buy medicine? Whatever medicine it is, wrap it all up, no charge." "Huh?" Lu Hong said. "Elder Chao, those medicinal ingredients add up to over 200,000. Chao Xinghua barked. "Just go when I tell you to. Why so much nonsense?" "Please don't be angry, Elder. I'll go right away." Lu Hong hurried to the counter and brought over all the herbs that had just been wrapped. Just a moment ago, he was thinking about taking a kickback, but now he had to give away everything for free and almost lost his job. If he had known this would happen, why did he provoke that man? Thinking this in his heart, he handed all the herbs to Yi Bufan. Chao Xinghua said, "Young friend, consider these herbs as my apology to you. Please help me complete the Hua Tuo golden prescription." As he spoke, his face was full of eagerness. Since Elder Chao, a leading authority in Jiangnan's traditional Chinese medicine circles, had gone to such lengths, Yi Bufan naturally couldn't say anything more. He picked up the brush and completed the last missing ingredient, 3-leaf orchid. Completed. It's finally completed. Seeing the completed Hua Tuo golden prescription on the wall, Chao Xinghua trembled with excitement. He had obtained this prescription by chance, but due to its great age, many of the characters on it were unclear. It was an incomplete prescription. Knowing the value of the Hua Tuo golden formula, he had expended great effort to identify the first 15 ingredients, but the remaining 3 were impossible to complete. This time, in order to treat that important person and also to make up for his own regret, he offered a reward of 1 million. The announcement had been posted for several days, but many people were unable to help. Just as he was about to give up in despair and withdraw the notice, he met this young man. Yi Bufan, however, remained calm and indifferent. This so-called Hua Tuo golden formula was quite common in the ancient medical sect. Nothing extraordinary. Chao Xinghua was excited for a long while. He took the prescription down from the wall. Then suddenly his expression changed. After a moment of thought, he said, "Little brother, there's something wrong with this prescription. The medicinal properties of triple-leaf orchid and the previous Bai Ji conflict. The 2 herbs simply cannot be used together." He was thoroughly familiar with the properties of Chinese medicinal herbs, so he immediately spotted the problem in this prescription. Lu Hong, standing nearby, felt a stir in his heart. He had known all along that this young man couldn't possibly have completed the Hua Tuo golden prescription. As soon as the old man gave the order, he would immediately snatch back those medicinal herbs worth over 200,000. Yi Bufan said calmly, "Mr. Chao is right. These 2 herbs indeed cannot be used together, but the mistake is not with the 3-leaf Jalan, but with the previous herb, Bai Ji. In Hua Tuo's golden prescription, this herb is Bai Ju instead of Bai Ji. Although they are similar, their medicinal properties are quite different." Bai Ju, as an expert in traditional Chinese medicine, Chao Xinghua naturally wouldn't believe everything others said. He studied the prescription intently for a while, then a look of sudden realization appeared on his face. On the damaged prescription, only the character Bai of this herb was clear. The following character was too blurred to read. After much speculation, he concluded it should be Bai Ji, but it turned out he was wrong. Bai Ju. It really is Bai Ju. Now everything makes sense. After replacing Bai Ji with Bai Ju, the pharmacological logic of the entire prescription became completely coherent, without any flaws. Lu Hong felt a pang of disappointment beside him, but also great surprise. Who exactly was this young man? He could actually guide old Master Chao in traditional Chinese medicine, something that had never happened before. It seemed that this person must never be offended in the future. Young friend, you are truly a master. I am full of admiration. Chao Xinghua said excitedly. Young friend, I haven't asked your name yet. And who taught you? He had previously visited many famous TCM masters, but none had been able to complete Hua Tuo's golden prescription. For Yi Bufan to achieve this at such a young age, it was clear that his master was no ordinary person, which immediately sparked Chao Xinghua's desire to befriend him. My name is Yi Bufan. My master was a reclusive master and has already passed away. Oh, a trace of regret flashed in Chao Xinghua's eyes. Then he said, Young friend, you've helped me complete Hua Tuo's golden prescription, so now it's time for me to fulfill my promise. He called over the manager from the clinic and placed a check for 1 million yuan in front of Yi Bufan. Yi Bufan took the check and said, Master Chao, I don't deserve a reward without merit. Please deduct the cost of those medicinal herbs from the prize money. What kind of talk is that? The old man said, I wouldn't take money. Are you trying to slap me in the face? Chao Xinghua said, the Hua Tuo golden prescription is priceless. Adding another 200,000 is nothing. Besides, you've done me a great favor this time. I've been gathering the Hua Tuo golden prescription to save an old friend's life. If it had been delayed a few more days, it would have been too late. Yi Bufan had a good impression of the old man. As a senior figure in traditional Chinese medicine, he had no airs about him and was straightforward in character, which suited Yi Bufan's temperament. He asked, Mr. Chao, are you using the Hua Tuo golden prescription to treat someone? Chao Xinghua nodded and said, That's right. An old friend of mine has a lung disease. His condition is very serious. Countless famous doctors have been helpless. If I couldn't gather the Hua Tuo golden prescription, he probably wouldn't have more than 2 or 3 days to live. Yi Bufan frowned and said, Sir, you're mistaken. The Hua Tuo golden prescription can't cure diseases at all. What? The Hua Tuo golden prescription can't cure diseases. Chao Xinghua's expression changed drastically. Young man, you must be mistaken. Many ancient texts have records about the Hua Tuo golden prescription, clearly stating that it is a golden prescription and can be used for malignant diseases. You're all mistaken. Yi Bufan shook his head and said, The world-renowned Ma Fei, San, and Hua Tuo's golden formula were both prescriptions that flowed out from the ancient medical sect. As a descendant of the sect, how could he not know the effects of Hua Tuo's golden formula? He further explained, Hua Tuo's golden formula can be used for malignant diseases. That's not wrong, but its purpose isn't to cure malignant diseases, but to alleviate pain for patients in advanced stages. In terms of function, it's similar to Ma Fei San, except Ma Fei San is used for surgeries, while this one is for pain relief in severely ill patients in their later stages. Simply put, it's a prescription for painkillers, applicable to various conditions, including pain relief for late-stage cancer patients. It's far more effective than current cancer painkillers, with no risk of addiction or side effects. How is that possible? Chao Xinghua looked utterly incredulous. Impossible. If it can't cure diseases, why is it called Hua Tuo's golden formula? Yi Bufan said, For some severe patients, such as those with terminal cancer or pancreatitis, the pain is absolutely unbearable, making life worse than death. This prescription can effectively alleviate such pain. Only those who have experienced that kind of suffering can understand the value of this medicine, which is why it is called a golden prescription. Chao Xinghua was completely stunned. The previous prescription was incomplete, so he couldn't determine its properties and effects, ultimately misinterpreting the records in the ancient text. According to Yi Bufan, the efficacy of this medicine was also extremely valuable and rare. But he had placed all his hopes of curing his old friend on Hua Tuo's golden prescription. Since this prescription could only relieve pain and not fundamentally cure the disease, what else could he use to save his friend? Seeing his dejected expression, Yi Bufan comforted him. Elder Chao, don't take it too hard. Although Hua Tuo's golden prescription can't cure the disease, we can still think of other ways. Other ways? Chao Xinghua's heart stirred. Young friend, can you cure my old friend's illness? Yi Bufan's possession of the complete Hua Tuo's golden prescription showed the extraordinary nature of his master's sect, which ignited a glimmer of hope in his heart. Yi Bufan nodded and said, Yes. Chao Xinghua was overjoyed and said excitedly, Young friend, are you sure you can cure it? How certain are you? 80%. Yi Bufan was being very modest, as the other party only had a lung disease, which was nothing in the face of the ancient medical sex inheritance. But Xiao Qinghua was extremely excited. He had worked so hard for so long without finding a cure, and 80% certainty was unimaginable to him. Wonderful young friend. Please come with me to diagnose and treat my old friend. Yi Bufan nodded. This old man cared so much about his friend's illness, showing he was a person of deep emotion, and helping him out was no big deal. Qiao Xinghua drove an Audi A6, and the two left the Baiqiaotang, heading to the most famous Jiangnan Ruan neighborhood in Jiangnan City. This was his first meeting with Yi Bufan, and he didn't completely trust him. The reason he had invited him to treat his old friend was purely out of desperation, with no better option left. While driving, Qiao Xinghua asked, "Young friend, what method do you plan to use to treat my old friend?" His question was partly inquiry and partly a test, to see if Yi Bufan was just boasting. Based on what you just said, Elder Qiao, the most suitable method for this condition is none other than the 9 needles of soul revival. What? What did you say? Upon hearing the 4 words, 9 needles of soul revival, Qiao Xinghua was so shocked that his hands trembled, causing the car to swerve and nearly collide with an oncoming truck. Fortunately, Yi Bufan reacted quickly and pushed the steering wheel, avoiding the danger. "Elder Qiao, watch out!" Yi Bufan called out, but inwardly he found it amusing. The old man was well along in years, yet still so excitable. Qiao Xinghua slammed on the brakes and pulled over to the side of the road, then grabbed Yi Bufan's hand and said, "Young friend, what did you just say? Is it really the 9 needles of soul revival?" "Yeah. Is there a problem?" "Oh my God, you actually know the 9 needles of soul recall? You're not fooling an old man, are you?" No wonder Qiao Xinghua was so excited. The 9 needles of soul recall was hailed as the most remarkable acupuncture technique in the history of Chinese medicine. Once renowned as "when soul recall emerges, even the grim reaper weeps." Legend had it that if one could wield the 9 needles of soul recall, they could revive even the dead, leaving the soul reaping messengers, black and white impermanents, completely helpless. Yi Bufan said, "I naturally wouldn't deceive you, sir. This technique is indeed part of my school's heritage." "Excellent. This is absolutely excellent. With the 9 needles of soul recall, old He's life can finally be saved." Qiao Xinghua's confidence in Yi Bufan instantly surged. He restarted the car and sped forward quickly. The He family of Jiangnan was an existence looked up to by all high society in Jiangnan. The family's patriarch, He Changqing, had rendered countless meritorious services to China and was one of the few remaining founding elders, wielding immense influence in Jiangnan City and across China as a whole. His 3 sons were also extremely outstanding. The eldest, He Tianming, served in the military and had already earned his general stars. The second, He Tanda, entered politics and was a high-ranking official in Jiangnan province. The third son, He Tianqi, was in business and had also become a man of immense wealth. Because of this, the He family wielded great influence throughout Jiangnan City. The He family's villa was building number 1, the best in the Jiangnan Ruwa residential complex. It was a separate compound containing 3 European-style villas. Qiao Xinghua was clearly very familiar with the place. The bodyguards at the entrance didn't stop him at all. After they entered, a middle-aged man in his 40s approached them. It was He Tianqi, He Changqing's third son. "Uncle Qiao, you're here," He Tianqi said with a worried expression. "I was just about to call you, old sir. My father's condition has worsened these past few days. Please take a look at him quickly." "Don't worry, I brought Xiao Yi today specifically to treat old He." Qiao Xinghua introduced Yi Bufan to He Tianqi, saying, "This is Dr. Yi Bufan." He Tianqi looked utterly bewildered. In the past, Qiao Xinghua often brought renowned traditional Chinese medicine practitioners to treat his father, but none of them were ever under 60. When had there ever been a Chinese medicine doctor this young? Qiao Xinghua read his thoughts and said, "Don't let Xiao Ye's age fool you. His medical skills far surpass mine. Let's go see old He." Although He Tianqi was somewhat skeptical of Yi Bufan, he couldn't refuse old Qiao's request. The two of them followed him to a 3-story building. Qiao Xinghua was familiar with the place and quickly led Yi Bufan into a standalone 3-story building, the He family's private hospital. Although it was a private hospital, its medical facilities were no less advanced than those of major hospitals. Entering the ward, Yi Bufan saw an elderly man with white hair and beard lying on a hospital bed, gaunt and pale, already unconscious. He Qianqi said anxiously, "Uncle Chow, please think of something to help my father." Chao Xinghua turned to Yi Bufan. "Xiao Yi, take a look at old He." Yi Bufan nodded and walked toward He Chongqing's hospital bed. Just as he was about to reach out to take his pulse, he heard someone behind him shout, "Stop! Don't touch my grandfather." Yi Bufan turned around and saw a girl in her 20s standing at the door. She had delicate features, a slender figure, and a ponytail, exuding an air of heroic vigor. "What are you doing? Don't you know my grandfather is a critically ill patient and shouldn't be touched carelessly?" The girl walked in with an angry expression. She was He Tianqi's daughter and He Chongqing's granddaughter, He Shuang. He Shuang had a very stubborn personality. She had originally studied abroad in the United States for 3 years, but after returning, instead of following her family's arrangement to join the corporate world, she took the exam to become a police officer and was now the deputy captain of the criminal police team. Shuang, why are you back?" He Tianqi stepped forward and said, "This is Dr. Yi Bufan. He's here to treat your grandfather." "How old is he?" "He's going to treat my grandfather? Did he even graduate from medical school?" Seeing that Yi Bufan was even younger than herself, He Shuang's face showed a hint of disdain, clearly not taking him seriously. He Tianqi said awkwardly, Shuang, mind your manners. Dr. Yi is a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner." Traditional Chinese medicine? What a joke. Traditional Chinese medicine is unreliable to begin with, let alone from such a young doctor. He Shuang had been educated in a Western style since childhood and had returned from studying in the United States, so she had no regard for traditional Chinese medicine. She added, "Dad, let me introduce you. This is my friend Dr. Gao Haisheng, a cardiopulmonary specialist brought from the capital." It was then that He Qianqi noticed a middle-aged doctor in his 40s standing at the door, followed by 4 or 5 assistants in white coats carrying various medical equipment. He Shuang continued, "Dr. Gao has a PhD from the United States, is a top-tier internal medicine specialist in the capital, and has unique research in cardiopulmonary medicine. He has published over 20 papers in journals organized by the World Medical Association." Just a few days ago, Dr. Gao received an invitation from the World Medical Association and will soon become a member there. This time, Dr. Gao has turned down many tasks and is here to see Grandpa in the midst of his busy schedule. Hearing the series of titles, He Qianqi quickly stepped forward and said, "Dr. Gao, thank you for your hard work." Gao Haisheng nodded proudly and said, "With me here for the old man, there's no need to look for other doctors, especially those so-called traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. Can those roots and tree barks actually cure diseases?" Hearing this, Yi Bufan's face immediately darkened. "If you like to show off, that's fine. I'll say nothing, but there's no need for you to demean traditional Chinese medicine." Chao Xinghua's face also turned extremely ugly. For someone like him who had dedicated his whole life to traditional Chinese medicine, he naturally couldn't accept others looking down on it. He Shuang, completely ignoring their expressions, turned to Gao Haisheng and said, "Dr. Gao, I entrust my grandfather's condition to you. Rest assured, I will provide the old man with the world's most advanced treatment." After saying that, Gao Haisheng had his assistants take out various medical instruments and began to perform all kinds of tests on He Chongqing. He Tianqi looked at Chao Xinghua and Yi Bufan with some embarrassment. "Uncle Chow, sorry you know this girl's temper. She speaks without thinking. Please don't take it to heart. You two rest for a while. After they are done, I'll ask you to examine my father." These words were very polite, but anyone could see that between Gao Haisheng and Yi Bufan, he had chosen the former. "Since someone is treating the old man, we'll take our leave first." Yi Bufan had inherited the ancient medical sect's teachings. Although his purpose was to save people, a physician had dignity. He never begged to treat patients. Since the He family didn't trust him, there was no need for him to stay. After saying this, he turned to leave, but Chao Xinghua grabbed him. "Xiao Yi, don't rush off. In this old man's opinion, these people definitely can't cure old He." Over the years, old He has consulted many Western medicine experts and professors, but none of them could do anything. Later, I'll still need to trouble you, Brother Yi, to step in. He was also very dissatisfied with the He family's behavior, but when it came to his old friend's life or death, he couldn't afford to dwell on such grudges. Yi Bufan said, Elder Chow, it's not that I'm unwilling to give you face, but in all my years of practice, I've always believed in fate when it comes to treating patients. I've never had the habit of begging people to let me heal them. Chao Xinghua said, Xiao Yi, if we leave now, it's like admitting that Chinese medicine is inferior to Western medicine, and it will only make those people more arrogant. What we should do now is cure old He, use our medical skills to slap them in the face, and let Chinese medicine stand proud. These words moved Yi Bufan. With Chinese medicine declining day by day, as the inheritor of the ancient medical tradition, he indeed felt a duty to do something for it. You, Gao Haisheng, aren't you so high and mighty? Aren't you an expert in Western medicine? Aren't you famous across all of China? Well, today I'll slap you in the face and show you what real ancient Chinese medicine is. With that thought, he no longer considered leaving and stayed together with Chao Xinghua. He Tianqi was very surprised by Chao Xinghua's attitude toward Yi Bufan, wondering what this young man had done to earn such high regard from Elder Chao. Over on Gao Haisheng's side, he and his assistants completed one examination after another for He Chongqing, and finally, the reports were gathered in his hands. Looking at the test results in his hands, his brows furrowed deeper and deeper. He Shuang said nervously, Dr. Gao, how is my grandfather's condition? Is there still hope? Gao Haisheng sighed, shook his head, and said, It's already terminal. You'd better prepare for the worst. He Shuang asked urgently, What? Dr. Gao, can't you think of another way? She had the closest bond with her grandfather and naturally didn't want to see old Master He leave like this. He Tianqi followed up nervously, saying, Yes, Dr. Gao, you're an expert in cardiopulmonary diseases. You have to think of something. As long as we can cure my father, our He family is willing to bear whatever it costs. Gao Haisheng shook his head and said, I'm really sorry. It's true that I'm an expert, but I can't cure every illness. Old Master's illness has been delayed too long, and combined with his advanced age and declining bodily functions, even a miracle worker couldn't help. It's best to prepare for the end. He Tianqi and He Shuang both looked disappointed. Deep down, neither of them wanted to see this outcome. Just then, someone nearby said, Is this the expert from Western medicine? After studying in the US for so many years, all you've learned is to tell the patient's family to prepare for the funeral. The speaker was naturally Yi Bufan. He was indeed dissatisfied with Gao Haisheng's approach. The man had talked big, looked down on everyone, and acted like he was a divine physician. Yet when it came down to it, he had no solution at all and could only tell them to prepare for the worst. What kind of doctor was that? Kid, what are you talking about? As an internal medicine expert in the capital, Gao Haisheng was always flattered wherever he went. When had he ever been rebuked like this? He said angrily, Doctors are not gods. Not all diseases can be cured. The patient's condition is severe. It's not that I'm incompetent. No one could cure this. Yi Bufan sneered. No one can cure it? Who gave you the audacity to say that? Can you represent all the doctors in the world? Gao Haisheng shouted. In the field of cardiopulmonary medicine, I am the authority. I am the expert. I can tell you for sure that old Master He's illness is incurable by anyone. Your so-called expert title means nothing to me, Yi Bufan said. I can also tell you for sure that illnesses Western medicine can't cure. Traditional Chinese medicine can. What you can't cure, I can. After hearing this, Gao Haisheng burst out laughing with a sneer. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. This is the funniest joke I've ever heard. If traditional Chinese medicine can cure diseases, then pigs can fly. Hearing this guy disparaging traditional Chinese medicine again, Yi Bufan frowned. Do you dare to make a bet with me? If I can cure old Master He's illness, you will publicly apologize to traditional Chinese medicine across the whole of China. If I lose, this check is yours. As he spoke, he took out the million-yuan check he had just received from the Baichao Hall. Gao Haisheng shook his head and said, Old Master, he is already critically ill. This bet is meaningless. Yi Bufan said, What? Are you scared? Being repeatedly questioned about his medical skills by a young man in his 20s, Gao Haisheng also grew angry. Since you're so arrogant and know your place, I'll teach you a lesson. Isn't it just a bet? If I lose, I'll not only publicly apologize to traditional Chinese medicine in all authoritative publications across China, but also give you 1 million. It's a deal, Yi Bufan said, then turned and handed the check in his hand to He Tianqi. Please, Mr. He, act as our witness. With that, he was about to walk toward He Chongqing's bedside, but He Shuang swiftly blocked his path. Stop! You're not allowed to touch my grandfather. He is not a tool for your bet. Yi Bufan frowned and said, I'm here to treat your grandfather. He Shuang said stubbornly, no need. I don't trust you. I'll contact the World Medical Association's experts for my grandfather's illness. Chao Xinghua stepped forward and said, Shuang, Xiao Yi is indeed an excellent traditional Chinese medicine doctor. Please trust him. He Shuang replied, Grandpa Chao, when it comes to traditional Chinese medicine, I only trust you. I don't believe he can cure what you couldn't. Since we've made a bet, I naturally can't give up halfway. To make this stubborn little girl believe me, I said, how about this? Let me first diagnose old Master He. If my diagnosis is correct, you step aside. If it's wrong, I'll turn around and leave. He Shuang said, my grandfather is critically ill right now, you can't touch him. No problem. Traditional Chinese medicine relies on observation, auscultation, inquiry, and palpation. Through observation alone, I can still determine the condition. Yi Fanfan already had a thorough understanding of He Chongqing's situation. He said, the old master suffered a gunshot wound to his left lung in his youth. Though the injury wasn't too severe, due to insufficient rest afterward, he didn't recover well. In recent years, the old master has frequently consumed alcohol, coupled with exposure to cold, which has aggravated his lung condition. He Shuang's expression changed, surprised that he had repeated everything exactly, matching the old master's situation perfectly. But she still said stubbornly, don't waste time with the past. Tell me, what's his condition now? The current condition is severe. Both lungs show increased markings. The left costophrenic angle is blunted. The right pleura is thickened and adherent, and there is accompanying effusion. The upper left lung has chronic tuberculosis, limited mobility. The lung lobes show a tendency to atrophy, and most importantly, the lung has already shown signs of worsening fibrosis. After he said this, even Gao Haisheng, who was holding the test results, changed his expression. He never expected that what this young man said would match exactly what his precision instruments had detected. He Shuang, after being shocked, had a sudden thought and said, I see, it must be Grandpa Chao who told you about my grandfather's condition beforehand, which is why you could describe it so clearly. Yi Bufan stopped Chao Xinghua, who wanted to defend him, and said with a smile, since you still don't believe me, let's try a different approach. I'll talk about your own health condition. He looked He Shuang over, a mischievous expression on his face. Your overall physical condition is quite good. You've been practicing martial arts since childhood. There's a scar on your right leg, and your left arm has been injured, which aches when it rains or when the weather turns damp. Recently, you've been experiencing discomfort in your left chest with some lumps inside. It's a symptom of hyperplasia. Also, due to your years of martial arts training and improper self-care, you've allowed cold energy to invade your body, leading to menstrual cramps. In fact, you had an episode just 2 hours ago. You, shut up right now. Although Yi Shuang was extremely bold and forthright, almost tomboyish, as a woman, she couldn't help but feel embarrassed to have her privacy exposed in public. At the same time, she was utterly shocked. If it was possible that Chao Xinghua had told Yi Bufan about her grandfather's condition, then how did he know about her private issue, which she had never discussed with anyone? He Tianqi and Gao Haisheng were both stunned, their mouths wide open. Although they didn't know about Yi Shuang's physical condition, her reaction made it clear that Yi Bufan had hit the mark. This ability to see through someone's condition at a single glance was simply beyond human imagination. Did he have X-ray vision in his eyes? Only Chao Xinghua remained relatively calm, showing little surprise. After all, how could the inheritor of the 9 Needles of Soul revival be ordinary? Seeing He Shuang still standing there stunned, Yi Bufan just smiled slightly, ignored her, and walked around to the bedside. He took out silver needles and began treating He Chongqing. He inserted the needles quickly, and in the blink of an eye, more than a dozen silver needles were stuck into the major acupoints on He Chongqing's chest. After the silver needles were inserted, the tails began to tremble non-stop, as if equipped with electric motors, without a moment's pause. The 9 Needles of Soul Recall. This is really the 9 Needles of Soul Recall technique. Old He is going to be saved this time. Chao Xinghua had been watching from the side. He couldn't use the 9 Needles of Soul Recall himself, but he had read quite a bit about it and immediately recognized that Yi Bufan was using that very technique. He had still harbored some slight doubt earlier, but now he was completely convinced. At the same time, he was extremely excited. To be able to witness this legendary needle technique in his lifetime, he would have no regrets even if he died. Seeing his reaction, Tianqi asked in surprise, "Uncle Chow, what's so special about the 9 needles of soul recall?" Chao Xinghua calmed his excitement a bit and said, "The 9 needles of soul recall is the supreme needle technique recorded in ancient Chinese medical texts. It's no exaggeration to call a divine needle. It represents the pinnacle of acupuncture techniques in traditional Chinese medicine. The 9 needles are a summary of 9 needling methods: nourishing qi, strengthening tendons, fortifying bones, unblocking meridians, reshaping the body, and reviving the spirit. Legend has it that the reviving 9 needles can bring even the dead back to life, earning it the beautiful metaphor: when the revival needle appears, the underworld messenger weeps." Hearing Chao Xinghua's miraculous description, Tianqi exclaimed excitedly, "Really? Does that mean my father's illness can be cured? Is it really that miraculous?" Snapping back to reality, Shuang muttered softly to herself. She thought Chao Xinghua was exaggerating, but deep down she still hoped her grandfather could be cured. So she didn't say much and instead watched intently as Yi Bufan performed the reviving 9 needles. Yi Bufan ignored everyone else and focused entirely on his needling. Chao Xinghua could only recognize his reviving 9 needles, unaware that the chaotic true qi circulating inside him was an even more indispensable remedy. Combined with the reviving 9 needles, it produced unexpected effects. In the silence, time slowly passed. About 20 minutes later, Yi Bufan retracted the silver needles one by one and said calmly, "All done. Grandpa He's illness is completely cured." "Cured? How is that possible? Do you take us for fools?" Although Gao Haisheng was curious about Yi Bufan's needling technique, he found it hard to believe that a few pricks could cure a patient's lung disease, especially such a severe and critical condition. Shuang said, "Yeah, my grandfather is still unconscious, isn't he? He'll wake up in a moment." With that, Yi Bufan raised his hand and gently patted He Changqing's dantian area. The old man expelled a mouthful of turbid qi. The pallor on his face instantly gave way to a rosy glow, and he opened his eyes, suddenly sitting up from the bed. Gao Haisheng was startled and stumbled back a few steps. If this weren't broad daylight, he would have thought the old man had risen from the dead. He knew He Changqing's condition better than anyone. All the test results from moments ago had been severe to the extreme, with the old man on the verge of death at any moment. To see such a person sit up from the bed was simply unbelievable for him. Tianqi and Shuang were both overjoyed. "Father, you're awake? Grandpa, you finally woke up? You scared me to death." The two held He Changqing's hands, crying tears of joy. "All right, stop your blubbering. Let this old man get up and move around a bit. I've been lying down so long my bones have rusted." He Changqing threw off their hands, rolled out of bed, and slowly started walking on the floor. At first, he moved slowly, but after a few steps, his pace grew smoother, and soon he was walking normally. The onlookers watched in amazement. Just moments ago, they were preparing for his funeral, and now he was full of vitality. The contrast was hard to wrap their heads around. Gao Haisheng was stunned, his mouth agape. After a long moment, he closed it and stepped forward, saying, "This can't be real. It might be a final rally. Sir, I need to give you a physical exam." He Changqing said, "Rally my ass. What kind of talk is that? I know my body. I'm in great shape now. The king of hell won't be coming for me for at least another 10 years. Gao Haisheng said sheepishly, "Elder, I was wrong just now, but I still think it's always good to run some checks." He Shuang said, "Grandpa, you should get checked out. Only then will we be at ease." He Changqing said, "All right, if you say so, I'll get checked." He lay back down on the bed, and Gao Haisheng and his assistants began re-examining him with the instruments. Soon the results were out again. Staring at the test results in his hand, he nearly dropped his eyes in disbelief. If he hadn't performed the check himself, he would have thought the data came from 2 different people. The latest results showed He Changqing was in excellent health. In particular, the lung function test was completely normal. The fluid that had been present in the lungs had disappeared, and there wasn't any sign of fibrosis. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Staring at the test data in his hand, he stood there dumbfounded, just repeating, this is impossible. He Chongqing sat up again and said to Chao Xinghua, Old Chao, I really have to thank you this time. Without being told, I know this old life of mine was saved by you. Chao Xinghua stepped forward and said, Old brother, you guessed wrong this time. I would have liked to save you, but I don't have the skill. The one who snatched you back from the jaws of death is this young man, Dr. Yi Bufan. Yi Chongqing's face flashed with surprise. Young Master Yi, you're truly accomplished at such a young age. I never expected someone so young to possess such superb medical skills. This old man thanks you. You saved my life. From now on, you are the benefactor of our He family. Your affairs are our affairs. Yi Bufan said calmly. You're too kind, sir. In the eyes of our traditional Chinese medicine, your condition was nothing serious. With that, he turned to look at Gao Haisheng. Dr. Gao, isn't it time to honor our bet? At his words, everyone's eyes fell on Gao Haisheng, remembering the bet the two had just made. Gao Haisheng's face flushed a dark red. He was now truly impressed by Yi Bufan's medical skills, but having to fork out 1 million in one go still stung. Yi Tianqi's face darkened. Dr. Gao, I was the witness. You're not planning to renege, are you? He was now very dissatisfied with Gao Haisheng. This guy had just repeatedly insisted that he prepare for his father's funeral, then claimed it was a temporary revival, and now, after losing the bet, he wanted to back out. What did he take the He family for? Gao Haisheng's heart trembled. He was well aware of the He family's power, which held an extremely high status in Jiangnan province and even across all of China. If he displeased the He family today, he wouldn't be able to leave Jiangnan City, or worse, his career as a doctor would be ruined. With no other choice, he took a checkbook from his assistant, wrote a check for 1 million, and handed it to Yi Bufan. Yi Bufan took the check, looked at it, and said, I've received the money, but don't forget your promise. Don't worry. Tomorrow, I will apologize to traditional Chinese medicine in all major media outlets in China. After saying this, Gao Haisheng left the He family in disgrace with his people. As soon as he left, Chao Xinghua came over to Yi Bufan and said, Old man here wants to take you as my teacher. What do you think? He was not joking. Ever since witnessing the 9 needles of soul return, he had been completely convinced by this young man. As he spoke, he was about to kneel and perform the disciples' ceremony. Yi Bufan was startled and hurriedly helped him up. Sir, that won't do. I wouldn't dare take you as my apprentice. He deeply admired old Chao's character. This was an old man truly committed to advancing traditional Chinese medicine. But Chao Xinghua looked displeased and said, Xiao Yi, are you looking down on an old man like me? I'm genuinely here to learn traditional Chinese medicine from you. Yi Bufan quickly replied, No, not at all. You are highly respected. How could you become my disciple? How about this? From now on, whatever you will learn, I promise to hold nothing back. No, that won't do. In our traditional Chinese medicine, we value formal lineage. That would be improper. I must take you as my master, said Chao Xinghua. In our field, we honor those who excel regardless of age. Don't worry about the age difference. Seeing the old man's determined, relentless attitude, Yi Bufan could only force a smile and say, I still wouldn't dare take you as my apprentice. How about this? I'll accept disciples on behalf of my master, and you can become a student under my teacher. Chapter 15, Great Uncle. Chao Xinghua was solely focused on learning medicine and didn't care about the rest. He nodded and said, That works. From now on, you're my senior brother. Senior brother, please accept my bow. As a traditional Chinese physician, Chao Xinghua deeply respected the customs passed down from his ancestors, and this bow was sincere and wholehearted. Seeing an old man with a long beard and thick eyebrows bowing to him and respectfully calling him senior brother, Yi Bufan still felt a bit strange, but this was already the best outcome. After the matters were settled, He Tianqi instructed someone to set up an incense altar and place Yi Xiaoyao's memorial tablet. Then Chao Xinghua kowtowed and formally became a disciple. On behalf of Yi Xiaoyao, Yi Bufan accepted Chao Xinghua into the ancient medical sect as an outer disciple. After all the rituals were completed, He Chongqing said, Brother Chao, now Brother Yi is your senior brother. The three of us will treat each other as equals from now on. When he finished speaking, He Tianqi and He Shuangshuang were instantly dumbfounded. This meant they had both become juniors. Especially He Shuang, who had just been glaring at Yi Bufan with disdain, now found herself as junior by a generation. He Changqing paid no attention to this and called over He Tianqi, saying, "Third brother, come over quickly and greet your Uncle Yi." He Tianqi looked awkward. After all, he was a big shot known throughout Jiangnan, influential in both the underworld and legitimate circles. Calling a young man uncle was really hard to swallow. Yi Bufan said, "Forget it, let's stick to our own titles. We'll address each other as equals from now on." He Tianqi let out a long sigh of relief and patted his chest, saying, "Brother Yi, if anything comes up in Jiangnan, just let me know. Your old brother here will take care of it for sure."